Bom dia, Portugal!
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria, Monson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. How are you today? Paul Rees will be joining us soon from Portugal Properties. And we'll also have Heather Binder joining us from Have I Cut Myself Shaving? No, not from Have I Cut Myself Shaving, the new TV show. Let me just hide that with the microphone. That's good, isn't it? We'll have Heather Binder joining us from Boots on the Ground, Portugal, and in an outfit you may not recognize, not the one she usually wears when she joins us on the show. Some medieval action later on today. So Paul Rees up in just a little while. Heather Binder joining us later. It is Ask Anything About and Say Anything About Portugal Wednesday. If there's something you want to get off your chest, something you want to ask about Portugal, please do so in the chat and send your pictures and videos to 913-590-303. Owen did that. We've got a lovely good morning from Owen. So let's play that now. And hopefully Paul Rees will have joined us behind the scenes soon. And we'll have a chat with him. Always great fun talking to him and finding out what he's been up to in central Portugal.
Good morning. How's this for a fantastic view from Baddy's rooftop? Sun's just coming up. The mist is just on top of the mountain there. Look at that. We're up on the roof again today. But I just thought I'd share the office view that I have up here. Isn't that amazing? That's the reason why I love Portugal. Anyway, have yourselves a great day. Whatever you're doing. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.
Isn't that so peaceful and lovely? And your scenes there from the new James Bond movie, from Baddy's rooftop in central Portugal there. So it looks like things are going well over there in central Portugal. Let's stay in that part of the world now. I think Paul has just about made himself comfortable and is ready. He's so showbiz. He's so showbiz. Let's give him a nice big round of applause and bring him on through. Hola, bon dia. You look like you've been sitting there for ages, waiting, quietly contemplating things this morning, Paul.
No, I've been swearing at the screen and wondering why Messenger doesn't download on my laptop.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. What a lovely way to start the day.
But then,
How are you?
serene as a black swan, I then appear before your cast of millions.
Yes, which also sounds like something to do with James Bond. Black Swan is probably a great name for the next James Bond movie, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's much overused as a in the sort of management speak, isn't it?
Well, it's overused in the way that the end of the world is, right? Somebody will be right one day, but they're not calling it too well so far. And that is what a Black Swan event is, isn't it? It's something very unpredictable and devastating.
I think it's a culmination of bad events that all come together. I just remember Swan as the serenity of what you see on the surface compared to the furious paddling underneath to make it all happen.
Yes, well, that's I think many of us can share with that or relate to that particular metaphor for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So, how are you? What have you been up to?
I'm good. Hey, I had a great day with Nick Robinson, who met.
Oh, did you? Excellent. Yeah.
Who mentioned your name over a chilled glass of Parafino at lunchtime.
All right. What did he say? Can I ask?
We had a great day. No, he was his wife's family, I think, are from not far from where I live. So they were up on a break, and he said much earlier in the year, when he comes up, can he do a day's videoing with me and just follow me around?
What a great idea.
Yeah, but he did a lot more than that, because of course he's a drone king. I mean, he's brilliant.
Yes. Yeah.
Dronage, and what I didn't realize, he'd done a paddleboard trip down the river here, a couple of 100 kilometers. Not this year, but another year. So he remembers cutting through my patch, as they say.
Oh, I say, that's something you don't forget, is it?
I know, something, he's a big boy. But had a great old time. I mean, I've known him and Manuela for 20 years, I guess. Manuela now runs Black Tower. I think she's the head cheese now at Black Tower.
That's right. Yes, yeah. The financial wealth management company.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I remember her from way back. I remember her taking maternity leave, and I said to Nick, "How old's your daughter now?" And he said, 17.
Time flies, doesn't it? Time flies.
Feel old, yeah, in a fraction of a second. But no, we had good fun. He wanted just to track what I was doing, so I dragged him around various building sites. Cool. and some completed properties. And I tell you, he's a very good interviewer. He's good. He sort of gets it out to be one way or the other. But
I think he's more of the Parkinson school, isn't he? Where he seems very affable and easygoing, and very casual and laid back in many ways. But not. He's still very perceptive and probing underneath that.
Yeah, and I think it's a better way, unlike the sort of Piers Morgan approach, which is arrogant, snooty, often right, but he doesn't allow his subject to develop. Put it that way. But no, it's good. Right. Good fun. It was good to catch up on the Algarve gossip.
Yes, well, that's perhaps we should let everyone know who Nick Robinson is. Some people who consume YouTube videos from Portugal voraciously I suspect will know him as the Algarve Addict. I think that's his trading name, isn't it, on YouTube? And really lovely bloke, great videos, and he's also into the paddleboarding scene down there, isn't he? And a bit of a surfer, I think. So it's quite a contrast in the household, isn't it? Highly corporate at one side of the house, and the laid-back, easygoing surfing, paddleboarding dude as well, and that would be Nick Robinson, whose videos you may have seen. So, and he's straying into central Portugal now. That's a trend, isn't it? If I were an economist, there's you that's done that, gone from the Algarve to central, and he's following in your footsteps and having a look. Is there something going on?
Yeah, I mean, there has been for a while, but it's increasing in speed. If you look at the curve, if you extrapolate a small demand as a percentage, obviously year on year it's not a straight line. So yeah, it is interesting, and everyone talks about the Americans are coming, and actually there are noticeably more Americans around. Some holidaying, others sensibly renting somewhere for 6 months and looking around. And others just visiting. So no, it is interesting, but there are plenty of other groups. There's Central Portugal at the moment is full. It seems to be Porsche Central at the moment.
Now this is a phenomenon we can share with people, isn't it? This is people coming home, isn't it, to their family village from other parts of Europe.
Yeah, and in small villages, you have cars that would cost 200,000 euros here, parked up with Swiss plates, French plates. They're all Portuguese owned, and they zap that back for the festa, the 4-day festa, and see family, and often open up the old family home for the first time in a year.
Oh, what a lovely moment that must be.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's one house. I live in a village of maybe 50, 60 houses. There's one house here I've never seen open, and I saw the ground floor door open the other day. That's really nice inside, but obviously only used once in a blue moon by returning. I think they live in Andorra. Yes. So it's interesting to see the social toing and froing. But above the level of tourism, which is kind of always there. Family visits were always there, hampered through COVID. But in terms of people buying and moving here, the activity is increasing. The prices are going up. Even the slow to move children over in Garda and Castelo Branco are being prodded into price activity, and it's good. And a lot of it is down to people using YouTube and people viewing stuff, not just looking at an estate agent's website saying, "Oh, that would be nice." Yeah, I met a guy for the first time yesterday who had bought one of our properties, who'd just driven down from the UK. It was super well informed. And I said to him that you'll have no trouble integrating here because you're inquisitive. He's got a skill set. He's an electrical engineer. He's self-employed, and he's bringing all his kit and kitting out the old Adega as his workshop. A really pleasant.
That's great.
But his level of knowledge of the different areas, he will now live in Castanheira de Pera council area. He knew about Serta, Figueira das Vinhas. He knew where the supermarkets were. He knew where the electrical wholesalers were. It's just incredible research. And he said, "Oh, I just look it up on." He said, "I look it up on YouTube and Google." And he said, "Did you know there's a video of this house before you bought it? A video in the 80s." That would have been quite useful.
It is Minority Report, isn't it? Or
yeah.
I mean, other futuristic sort of scenarios. Because now, I guess that if you could ask an AI question about a location in Portugal, and it will draw together an amazing report for you.
It is extraordinary what's there, and we're naive to as being in the business. We're naive to think people's behavioural pattern is the same as it was 5 years ago, let alone 10.
Yeah.
So I mean, a business like ours that's in property, but not just an estate agent, is looking at every possible means of communication. We just revamped our website. We've got social media now. We're taking it seriously rather than letting me play with it. Actually planning what goes out.
Yeah.
No, I'm a terrible player. So, but actually, luckily, I left YouTube and Instagram because I knew when Rural Properties engaged in those two platforms, we wanted to do it properly rather than have me staggering around the countryside looking hot.
I miss those days.
No, it won't be super. Yeah, it won't be super slick and paid for an agency, but it just needs to fit into a plan because that's where people are looking. They're looking for more information than just, "Oh, we've got 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms with a pool."
Yeah.
It's more than that. It's the whole. People don't want to make bad choices, and they want to know about areas and access and all the other Facebook groups and what's available, like your show, like the information that the guys with yesterday is big fan of your show.
Well, that's nice to know.
Yeah, he said, "Oh, I see you cropping up everywhere, even on Cole Munson on YouTube." And I left it at that. Obviously, I made
yeah. Let's not go into that. Moved him on swiftly. Would you like some dessert with your prato do dia? Excellent. That's a lovely update. Let's find out what's going on in our community here this morning. See if they've got any questions. A bit of history about the Battle of Al Gibraltar. I've got some pictures actually from the recreation, and we'll have pictures from Heather as well later with her reenactment. I don't know if she calls it that, but her and husband Kevin were at the Obidos Medieval Festival. Some great pictures. He made his own armor. Let's see who else is here this morning. Coach Turner. Oh, and a great bit of music. I think you're a music fan, aren't you, Paul? Do you like a bit of 80s themed music?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
70s best decade, I think, but 80s has our hearts in a way, doesn't it? And I think you'll like this tune that I'm going to play. Bon dia, Gumpers. Ifelish Carta. We seem to be surviving the onslaught of 2 granddaughters. Well done. I took them swimming to our local Lido. Nobody calls it that anymore. Lido? What were you doing? Your Charles Atlas exercises by the side of the pool on the Lido yesterday, and seeing a 4-year-old swim was a proud moment. That's great. Well done. Excellent grandparenting. God's God tip of the day. Families are complex, and of course, each one is different. This doesn't sound like a fitness tip. This sounds like a psychology tip. But finding the right balance between spending time with them, yes, and having your own space is tricky. For some, it's all about the family, and they commit their time to them. For others, it's the total opposite. For us, barring emergencies, we try to keep a certain amount of time to ourselves. Normally 4 or 5 months at a time. No, normally 4 to 5 days each week. That allows us to enjoy the grandchildren when we're with them. Yes, absence makes the heart grow fonder. There is no right or wrong here, and it will change over time. But I think we found a good balance. Well done, Coach Turner. Leaning into the psychological there. James is here with a bom dia, campus. Felicitata a todos. Como estão? Tudo bem? Antonio F. also. How are you? Bom dia a todos, she says. João Ernesto with a bom dia, Portugal. Anna Jackie, a greeting as well, watching as I paint. We are slightly more interesting, I hope, than the paint drying, Paul. We'll have to prove that, I guess, won't we?
Each to their own.
Yes. Pon the Alegria Campus from Teed Up Morning to you, mate. And the history lesson this morning. This time in Portugal on this day in 1385. Remember it well. I don't know what the music was like then. The Battle of Aljubarrota takes place. 7,000 men, Portuguese force, including 600 English archers on loan, with their famous gesture, Paul? I believe.
Well, probably actually then, yeah. That was that's pre-Cressy, but it's I think it was the French that were the finger snippers.
Yeah, right. What a I mean, whoever had that idea first time round was a pretty evil person, weren't they? But yeah, strategically useful, no doubt. But I guess all you had to do when you went into a bar in those days was to show you were an archer, was give the 2 fingers. They faced 30,000 Castilians, the Spanish, and a French invading army. However, despite the odds, victory for the Portuguese, keeping Portugal independent. What happens when 7,000 take on 30,000? They must have been a little bit arrogant and complacent, I think, and were undermined, or the Portuguese perhaps knowing the territory better in Aljubarrota.
Well, I think that the history is always written by the victors, so one could dispute the numbers, and the 600 plucky mercenaries, basically English archers, they would have been the Black Ops mercenaries. But yeah, if they're well positioned and well stocked with arrows, would do severe damage. But no, it was a big victory. But 30,000 Castilians, it's not 30,100. All these round figures are always.
Yes, it is. It might have been 3,000. It's like, well, that's not a very good story. Add another 0 on there, and we need the. We need the Portuguese baker, because that's my favourite story from this battle. Apparently, some retreating Spaniards asked Maria if they could hide in her oven, and she said, "Yeah, of course you can, boys. Chop in, shut the door." Spanish soldier for dinner that day. Terrifying woman. And cross bunnies in there. Now I'm thinking. We were talking about Albufeira yesterday, and the British in Albufeira, and I gave them a stern warning, and I gave them the harsh end of my tongue, and I want the Brits to behave in the Algarve and Albufeira. And Palofonas is very fair. It was this kind of numbers game, and you're going to get a few rotten apples in such a large number of people going to any one place. But clearly, Albufeira was not the first British holiday destination. Was it? Is Aljubarrota. Can you imagine guys in taverns in the UK like, there's this place over the water there, and you go through France. I don't like it there anyway. They hate us, so we go through France, Spain, and there's this little place called Portugal, and it's Aljubarrota. It's lovely. You can get beer. There's lovely birds there. Take your arrows with you. Have a great time. Free holiday. What do you think? Is that the first?
All for the cost of £1.50.
You get paid as well, mate. But you get paid per Spaniard, maybe, on your holiday. I don't know. Where's he gone? Black Swan. It's the Black Swan has occurred, Paul. Oh, there you are. Thank God.
That's it. No, I tend to think some of those early English holiday makers did make their way to Albufeira. But I do love the way Albufeira, it actually, however much Mayor Rollo tries to say, oh well, we're going to weed out these miscreants. And Albufeira is extremely good at what it does. It's promoted itself for decades as the only place that's anything like Spain, the south coast of Spain. It's hedonistic. It's set up for that. It's happy hours. It's cheap prices. It's totally drunk youngsters, and it's very good. It's very good at it. And you got the mayor riding around and the minister saying, "Oh well, this could never carry on." And the trouble is, you do get knifings. You get people getting
horrible things happen at the moment. Yeah,
bad things happen. So it needs policing, and then they all complain when the police appear on horses, saying, "Well, that's a bit much, officer." But if you can't put up with it, don't go there. There's nothing Portugal can do about it. It can't ban behaviour.
Analysis.
Can't ban behaviour. It's like saying, it's like trying to turn Magaluf into a middle class destination. It won't happen. Its whole reputation on what it's really good at. And you talk to bar owners, they're up for it.
Yeah.
They don't want any change as long as it doesn't happen on their patch.
So your strategy would be to keep it as it is, but keep it there.
I just police it more. It's going to happen anyway. If you want the income, you're going to have to let the activity happen. You just got to try and make it as safe as possible.
Yeah, well said. Yeah.
And you've got to have 24-hour policing. You've got to have police at 3, 4, 5 in the morning, visible on the streets, and then and just accept people will get reckless. You want to also maybe look at the medical care, because you've got some dangerous. The accidents happen when people are drunk, and people get when people are drunk. And the last thing a group of pickpockets needs a GNR walking up and down, smiling and being polite and saying, "Have a good time, lads." But it just needs. I think they need to accept. They need to accept it. But it's funny. It's like having a sort of mentally ill younger brother. You love them dearly, but you don't really want to tell the world about it. But
I would never I didn't imagine that coming. That analogy. Yeah.
Well, it's like they're sort of they say, "Oh no, everything's fine. Albufeira is very safe and very this, that, and the other." And you look at the people that it attracts. And it's a great place. You can crash out on the beach. You can. There's thousands of tourist beds, and more being built. You've got.
What do you mean that? There's actually a place where you can actually sleep on the beach safely there? It's sounding much more attractive to me now.
Yeah, no, a lot of people pass out on the beach.
Oh, okay.
And then you've got Falaisia. You've got the posh bits just around the corner. You've got Pine Cliffs and Falaisia Beach, and the W. Is it the W residences that are just opened?
Okay.
Where a T1, it's quite funny. They say apartments from T1 to T3, and then later in the ads it says the price is from 750,000. I'm thinking, if that's a T1 squeezed into that building, it's going to be maximum 65, 70 meters. For 750 grand, it's just outstanding. Plus, there'll be a massive annual fee because it's concierge and probably a bar and common pool and everything. And you think, well, it's not an area I recognise much anymore. And then alongside it, a mile down the road, you've got the strip. You've got people getting rat-assed from Ireland.
Delightful turn of phrase.
Every day. Great.
That sounds like a very pragmatic solution. Better policing, because Paolo was saying 500,000 visitors a year and 150 police officers who can't all be on duty at the same time, and only GNR, no PSP style. So when it does kick off, I mean, you're feeling a baton. GNR don't mess about. They're essentially military, aren't they? Paramilitary force. So they'll deal with things in quite a heavy-handed way. Maybe that's what people need to see and know. But there needs to be a few more of them, by the sound of it.
Well, there needs to be the threat of them rather than just appearing from around the corner. Do you remember they had that big party of people from Hackney, I think?
I don't. What was that?
Like 500 of them a few years back. And they sneakily booked into 3 different hotels to spread the load. And it was they called it a massive hookup. So that the intent was fairly clear that it was for singles. And it got out of hand, and the police turned up on horses and started chasing them around the streets.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Old
And
school.
father was complaining that it was probably dangerous for the horses, but they didn't mind. But they sort of appeared out of nowhere. I think if you had armed police patrolling on a couple of hefty looking beasts, not every 5 minutes, but just a presence, if it cuts the crime rate by 20%, it's going to be a benefit.
It's a sort of visceral realization, isn't it? Is it, hold on a minute, I better not to get too drunk after the Hackney thing that happened. Yeah, you need to have that in the back of your mind, I think, don't you?
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Didn't expect to be talking to you about Albufeira. It sounds like they've used some of the tactics from Aljubarrota and Albufeira with horseback style.
Yeah.
Here are some images from Aljubarrota. Thanks to Nathaniel for these. There's a cavalry charge right there. Well, scaled down a little bit and perhaps a little bit slower than the original. But look, the kids are loving it. Fantastic equestrian activity. Or asses in the street. It sounds like Albufeira. An old-fashioned swing. I think that's a swing. Oh, yeah, it is. It is definitely a swing, not a way of restraining children. This, however, is a way of restraining children in a medieval style there. Yeah. Excellent, says Paul. Well, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant what's going on. And I think there's 2 more days. Look at the traditional stocks. That would also work in Albufeira, would it not?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, definitely.
That's an Airbnb in Albufeira, actually, isn't it? Just getting that for the night, charge somebody €30, boom, done. Job's a good one.
No, I would continue to put miscreants in them. It would.
That's such a good word. Ne'er-do-wells.
Footpads. Gullyways. Yeah, I would continue to shame them publicly.
Right. Well, that's the worst. Here's the worst review ever of Albufeira. Peckham Pikeys on Viagra. Come on. That's not fair. Although it might apply to 1 or 2. Right. Heather's joining us in just a moment, Paul. I imagine you've got to go off and be hot and sweaty in the Portuguese countryside. Have you got a final word for us? What's hot? What's cooking?
I've got 8 guys lifting large beams today, putting a roof on. So I ought to swan by at some stage and stand in the shadow and
point at things.
Yeah, say well done, chaps. Yeah,
very good. Well, this is the vista. This is the environment that you work in. You in your natural environment. It's absolutely beautiful. Love this video.
Oh yeah,
this is a recent one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's near Figueiredo Vinhas. It's a house we bought a couple of months ago, and just had the land trimmed first time in 5 hours. And this is a house that has got a new roof, luckily. But it's had the design treatment from our Concepto design guys, and it's ready for a buyer to decide how many bedrooms, what they want where, and then we can get on with it. But it's a beautiful house. It's very Tuscan. It's
very Tuscan. What do you mean? That's sort of a stone bungalow.
Yeah, it just looks like a good, well-established sort of Tuscan or Umbrian farmhouse. It's got a certain je ne sais quoi, whatever that is in Italian.
Look at you with your real estate hype there. With je ne sais quoi. Very good.
Beautiful house. Everyone that's seen it said, wow, this is gorgeous. And it is.
That's great. And I do like your approach, because clearly you were talking about, the questions people ask. Those can be answered without the house being finished, can't they? The location, the community, all those important things to people, whether it's going to have decent Wi-Fi. But you stop short in this sort of condition and allow people to create their bespoke design, should they be interested. That's pretty smart. It hasn't always been like that, has it, development?
No, and in fact, the early projects we did at Rural Properties were smaller village properties where it's pretty obvious it's 2-bed, 1 bath, lounge, dining room. There weren't too many choices to make. On these larger properties, people, if you're a couple, you want a very different layout than if you're a family with 4 kids.
Yeah, right. Or if you plan to grow an age there, you want a different layout, don't you? So that's a great idea. So people can come in at this stage and ask for what they like. That's superb. And have you had a bit of a revamp on your website? That's looking very stylish. Is this actually one of your properties?
We have had a revamp, and it's more modern, and it shows more of what could be.
Right.
It also lists properties we've got for sale. I've got to spend the rest of the day doing more listings, actually.
Nice.
But yeah, it shows that there are two sides to the business. One is selling the properties that we have created, and the other is for investors who want to join the band of investors who help fund said projects. So it's pretty
create beautiful places like this. I mean, that's delightful. That home there and that view that you could have in central Portugal. That's fantastic, Paul.
Yeah, and it's very much design led, and by using the highly successful agency in Portimao, who have dealt with Studio Arte have been architects in the Algarve for over 20 years, and they've been extremely successful. That one of their key projects now is working with us on rural properties, because the owner is doesn't need the money, put it that way. He wants to do things that interest him, and rural property in Portugal does. And it's kind of leapfrogging. So it's bringing a type of quality that Americans and Canadians require as standard, which is, you know, insulation, heating, etc. is pretty basic, and bigger spaces, larger lounge areas, rather than lots of different rooms. So it's,
love it. Yeah, absolutely love what's going on, and that's where to find it. Rural-properties.com. Always fun talking to you. Never know quite where we're going. We went to Aljubarrota, we went to Albufeira, and finally back to beautiful rural properties. And I promised you some music. So let's have a little bit of a musical interlude, and we'll bring Heather on afterwards, because I think Heather will like this. It's got an 80s vibe. I'll just play a little bit of it, Paul, and you can dance your way off the screen if you like. This is, I think it's called Elderly White Man is the name of the band. Elderly White Man, and the track is Your Face in the Sun, and I think this was made on the Silver Coast. It's really good. The lyrics are a bit depressing, but that was all right in the 80s, wasn't it? You can write about terrible things in the 80s to a disco beat. You could write about oppression, you could write about, you know, cruelty, stalking people, all sorts of things like that. But as long as it had a good beat and some synths in it, we didn't care, did we? And here we go. This is about aging, I think, and the dismal nature of winter, but with a lovely upbeat musical backbeat to it. Paul, thank you very much. Enjoy this as you what's the word? Sashay off the screen and into central Portugal. Look at you. There we go. Sashay. Oh, he's so skillful.
There goes summer. Here comes fall, days getting shorter. Shadows grow tall. We wait for the moment. We wait for a sign. And while we are waiting, run out of time, we run out of time. Winter is coming.
Right, and on that note, winter is coming. Let's pause it there, and we'll hear the whole track at the end of the show. Let's give her a lovely big round of applause and bring her onto the screen. No connection to winter is coming. Here's Heather, everybody. Yeah, that wasn't the best introduction, was it, Heather?
Well, winter is coming.
It's
I mean,
true.
That's a Game of Thrones reference. You know that, right? You don't know that because you're not my sci-fi guy.
I am not your sci-fi
Everyone else
guy.
out there knows that winter is coming, and then you bring me on. I won't take that personally.
Did you like that tune? It's pretty cool, isn't it?
It was kind of fun. I liked the flowers. Yeah. You know, in depressing lyrics. That's totally 80s, and I love it.
Yes.
So yeah, that's my thing. So yeah. All good.
Yes, right. Winter is coming with its bitter chill. Time keeps on moving while we're standing still. It's like, while you're
True.
flailing your arms around after 3 snake bites on the dance floor in the 80s, you don't really care too much about those lyrics. But we actually liked it. I was listening to a Joy Division. I saw a Joy Division sort of visual mashup of one of
Yeah.
their tracks with the Uma Thurman, John Travolta dancing scene with
Nice.
Joy Division in the background. And I was trying to figure out what was going on. Why did we like listening to such dismal lyrics and themes?
I love Joy Division. I love The Cure. I love all that. Yeah, I don't know. But
Anxiety, wasn't it? It was all about angst.
well, I mean, I was like a goth girl and all of that. So, it was like the thing. But I don't know. Kevin, my husband, he was a skater,
Oh, okay. So he wasn't into that. He was outside in the fresh air.
No, skater means like he was like, on that same vibe.
Oh, I see.
Like,
Not literally at the skate park.
No, like
Right.
you really don't know anything about
I have
this
no
culture.
idea, have
love
I?
it. No, it's great. It's great.
What is Game of Thrones anyway?
What? Game of Thrones?
No,
What about?
I have heard of it. I just haven't.
Oh, well, I would hope you don't live under a rock. Of course, you've heard of it.
They did do that in Game of Thrones. I know that much. Didn't they live under that massive rock in Monsanto?
You're right, exactly.
Yes,
yeah, we want to go there. We want to go where they've done the filming, but we haven't made it there yet. But we watched something on it the other day where they have like the base of the Monsanto castle, and then they did CGI to like flesh it out, and it looks really cool. So
it looks amazing, doesn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you mentioned husband Kevin there. You've been. Oh, I've got a really cool photo I want to share with you. It's shared some time ago. Oh, and James, yes, definitely. I will play the video of you in the Sintra Forest. That got buried, but we will play that because it's very calm and beautiful.
Oh, I love Sintra. Yeah.
Yeah. He went for a walk in the forest there. Now,
Nice.
this is my photo that I want to share. I was having a nice quiet day on the beach at San Martino de Porto. Perfect. Bolo de Berlin, sunshine, people playing. When you shut your eyes on a summer beach and there's all the sound of the beach is such a beautiful one, isn't it? Kids playing, parents counting down from 3, 2, 1 because they've got to go in 5 minutes and they're still there half an hour later. All the noises of the beach and the Bolo de Berlin man. And he's rolling by and he wants to sell you a sand-covered donut. There I was in that environment. And then a plane comes past to complete the Where's Waldo picture, or Where's Wally as we call it, and a not a skywriter, but one of these planes that's pulling a banner.
Oh, is that okay?
That's what it said. Obidosh Medieval Festival. That was from the 10th.
Oh, nice.
Is it the 10th? It was on for a long time. Anyway, it was on for a while.
Yeah, it's 10 days, right? Mm-hmm.
You were there, of course, and we have pictures of you and Kevin. So, how much fun was this dressing up for the event?
Well, we enjoyed dressing up. Kevin made his costume. I made mine. Kevin does armor, so he did all that, and I like to hand sew a little bit, even though I'm not good at it. And so it was great. This was a new outfit of his. This one is hoplite Greek with the crest, the horsehair crest, and everything. And yeah, it was really awesome and garnered a lot of attention.
I bet it did.
For sure. A lot of people wanted pictures. And there I'm in my kind of Greek chiton, like toga, if you will, sort of thing.
Is it fair to call that the wench look? The medieval wench?
No, it's not wench at all. It's an early period, and it's layered, and it's a lot of just material and pleated silk underdress, and it's a fancy version of a toga.
I see. It's a bit like the layering you see in Nazaré with the fisherwomen there. What's the idea then? Why so many layers? Is that? I mean, I don't mean that badly. Again, I introduced you as winter is coming, and now compare you to a fish lady of Nazaré. It's not going very well.
That's okay.
I still have time to redeem myself. Right?
Well, it's a underdress, and then it's the layered overdress. So they're two separate pieces really, but you can see that over is not sewn all the way, so it's it's just a draping sort of thing. But his outfit's the interesting part of the photo.
When you say that,
Not
I mean,
mine, really.
I do like the practicality of yours. You know, there is practical and there's artistic, isn't there? Because you've got the flourishes and the color contrast, and in different weather conditions, you can change layers or add or subtract layers. That's
well, that's a good one when it's hot, because it's it's cooler. And but Kevin's, his breastplate and his helmet, I think it's 26 pounds total, like it adds. So yeah, that's not a good one when it's hot, but he does it anyways, because he's used to that, hand-to-hand combat and stuff like that. He's done for a long time, and medieval reenactment stuff.
Yeah, but he's got a 7 there.
Algebra is going on right now. You know that, right?
It is. Yeah, we were just chatting about Algebra, and there was a comment about the Maria. Apparently, the one version of the story is that she invited him into the bread oven, and there they stayed, charred, only to be discovered as charred remains. Yeah, the legend of Algebra's baker, Bridge de Almeida. I'm calling her Maria, sorry about that, who supposedly killed 7 Castilian soldiers with her bread shovel. So she didn't lock them in the oven, or maybe she did, and then was thinking about what to do with them, and then assaulted them with a bread shovel sometime later. Terrifying. What a woman, though, taking on 7 fellas in that way. And I think that's reenacted.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's a woman that does that. And Kevin ran into her at the medieval festival. In fact, that woman that does that.
Is it one woman who does that on a regular basis?
Apparently.
Wow.
And she's really into it, and it's her thing, and she's really good at it because she's kind of scary.
And her dating profile must be quite interesting as well, I'm thinking, too.
Mean with a shovel. I like that.
Yeah, a bit handy with it.
Yeah.
Good baker. Pretty handy with the shovel too. Now, I see from Kevin's outfit, which he made, as you say here, he seems to have 2. I mean, there's downtime.
This is an archer outfit, but actually he doesn't have his bow and his what do they call that?
Well, you're his bow, aren't you?
You know, the thing that holds his arrows. Anyways, he's not wearing that.
His quiver.
He doesn't have the quiver and the bow on in this one, so it was kind of like but it's his.
He's so Hollywood. The pair of you look fantastic in there. But I'm thinking, for the older gentleman who is thinking, I'm never going to have a 6-pack, you could
This is the way to do it.
This is how you go about that. It's a 7-pack. There's a little paunch bit.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's not what my husband really looks like.
No.
Totally like replicated it, but yeah, that's a really good way to kind of do a fake. And I think women respond to it. He was telling me that too, like kind of look at it, and it's kind of like, it's a good visual. I don't mind it. Let's just put it that way. I don't mind it.
Okay, scars and armor plating. Then the ladies seem to love that. So you had a good time, Albidosh, by the sound of it. I mean, it's a huge event, isn't it?
It's big, yes. And we went up to the one in Santa Maria de Feira as well this past weekend, and that one's huge. It's kind of too big. It's really big. So that was kind of different. Interesting to see the difference between Obidosh and that one. But we prefer Obidosh, actually. It's kind of the right size and not as overwhelmingly busy.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting to know. So Algebra still on. You've missed Obidosh this year. Of course, it will happen again next year. Algebra picking up that medieval baton.
There's quite a few festivals still going on around town. Silves, I think, is going on now as well. And that one's supposed to be one of the best ones, and others.
Yes.
So definitely look wherever you live in Portugal. If you're visiting, look up the medieval festival, because it may very well be going on where you're at. There's something like 90 of them this sort of time of year in Portugal.
Very interesting. And we've showcased those 3 big ones. The Silves Medieval Festival. Ali was talking about that a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, and thank you for representing Obidosh, and to Nathaniel for sending the pics over of Al Gibraltar as well. So you can catch that today and tomorrow, I think, Al Gibraltar, if you still want to go along.
Yes.
To let's talk about migration as well. After we said hello to ocean dweller Aviva. Hola, bon dia. Hola todos, says Aviva. I can't wait to talk to you about your project, Aviva. So let me know when you're ready to come on the show and share that with everybody live from Madeira. Bon dia from Pam as well. You're mid-festival, aren't you? Is it San Bernardo at the moment? Has that come and gone already, Pam? What's going on over there? And I went to Al Gibraltar Medieval Fair yesterday. Well done, Pam, supporting the local events. Skater stereotype. Thank you. This is an education for me every time you're on, because I get it wrong, basically, or I am ignorant about such things. Skater stereotype, irreverent. I don't know what FTW means either. What does that mean?
F the world.
Oh, really? I'm glad I didn't read that.
I'm guessing, but that makes sense to me. It's very, anarchy kind of oriented. Sid and Nancy.
Okay. Yes.
Although,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. A bit of existential angst, a bit of apathy in the mix there. Do my own thing. We're all going to die anyway. Apparently inherited from the captured British archer gene. It may well have been. So there you go. See, I had the skater stereotype as a very active person who was at the skate park.
Active, but
what the hell?
It falls in that whole like alternative kind of goth, new wave, punk, whatever, crowd. Like the goth girls, like the skater guys.
Yes. Okay. It's a different Bridge to Almeida this year. We are being availed of the medieval gossip. So the traditional lady who I think you mentioned, who Kevin met, is different. Maybe she's gone to the highest bidder somewhere else with her shovel.
Oh, I'm sure if it's I'm sure it's possible changes, but
okay. Well, she's quite a Portuguese character, that's for sure. Rui, good morning to you. 3 words of honest advice. Rural properties payment upon completion. This brings us back into real estate and your world of work. Keep your liquidity. Any payment in advance is you giving credit to an unknown third party. Never forget that, says Rui. Good of you to join us this morning. The whole BS about house is unfinished so the buyer can customize at taste is beer. He's being quite frank this morning, isn't he? Translates as money has gone, no more credit. I need cash to finish this, asking for a buyout. Well, Paul isn't here to defend himself, is he? With that scurrilous accusation.
It references, I'm sure Paul has good references, and that's what you need to go
Paul
by.
knows what he's doing. But so thank you for those words of caution, expressed in a very direct Portuguese way. Because that's what we have to remember about our Portuguese cousins, isn't it? Is they can be very direct in their communication.
Direct. Well, sort of. Like they don't like confrontation a lot of times, though, too. So there's like a directness about it, but I don't know. It's nuanced for sure.
That is because we were talking about this last night on our Portugal Club hangout about the seriousness of Portuguese people, and it was described as a heaviness in comparison with the other side of the Iberian Peninsula, of very loud, animated, and expressed Spaniards compared to the more reserved Portuguese. I don't know. We're talking stereotypes,
right.
And I don't get it as a sort of dark heaviness with the Portuguese. We kind of came to the word seriousness.
I was going to say serious. Yeah, there's a serious, but I don't know. I feel like that's a little misleading too.
Yes,
because it sounds like Spain's all fun and Portugal's all serious.
Exactly.
I don't think that's true because, in my experience, of course, I live in Portugal. Most people really feel the heart of Portugal,
Yes.
And the heart of the people and the passion of the pride of being Portuguese.
Yes.
And so I feel like, I don't know, I relate to it more in a way. And I don't know. I love Portugal. That's all.
It's paradoxical, though, isn't it? Because you're thinking serious. That means it's not very joyous. But that's so much of what I love about Portuguese
because it's
culture.
all it's
very joyful.
All it is about joy. It's about music and food and eating and drinking, and maybe it's more like live for today. Like they don't have it's not as focused on future or money or just all those things we get kind of sucked into in the US. And it's like, okay, so what if, whatever's going to go down in a few months? Today we got beer and cider and music and, sausages and
absolutely. You've nailed it there, I think, because it's like, the government's breathing down one side of my neck. The church is breathing down the other side. Her indoors, she's breathing down my neck. The Spaniards are breathing down my neck. What do? We drink wine. Yay! There we go. These are the numbers that have just come in for last year, or into me anyway. They might have been published ages ago, but I saw this, and it must be true because it was on Facebook. The interesting thing about these figures. Go on.
I saw something the other day that said there's a wine surplus, and winemakers are actually having to pay for wine to be taken away, basically, because there's some big surplus. I can't remember.
I'm doing my best to pay them to take it away.
Exactly. So that's just your encouragement to drink more wine, apparently. So
there you go. Please
I think, you know what? I just saw a correlation, not about this, but about the goth skater, whatever, 80s mentality and the Portuguese.
Yes,
and the music. Like, you're listening to the Cure and the Smiths and stuff like this. And then, but like, you're enjoying the hell out of it, Yes. And so, yeah, I think there's a correlation in a way of like, live for today.
Very good. I'm loving that. Yeah, there's a historical
which is
theme.
Important today, for sure.
Isn't it just? That's right. For sure. Well said. I want to just, before we put this into the before we file it, let me put it that way. Portugal is topping this table, and I think this is your annual consumption, 64.5 liters of wine. Portuguese friends of mine have said that's a bit on the conservative side. They think it's much more than that. But the interesting thing about positions 2 and 3 is that there are loads of Portuguese people there in Luxembourg and France, pushing up those numbers as well. So I wonder, if you take away Portuguese people living in Luxembourg and France, whether Luxembourg and France still make the table even. But Italy doing pretty well, and Slovenia and Georgia coming up the rear, as it were, as well there. So do your bit. Is that what you're saying then? There might be a bit of a surplus. Sales might be a bit slow, and we need to do our bit. Is that right, Heather?
I'm saying live for today, drink your wine, and listen to good music, and do things that you enjoy.
Yes. Great advice. We should probably leave it there. What else can you say? It's a mic drop right there.
I can say more, but then it just gets more depressing. So
it gets a bit
leave
dark
it there.
Before you go, and we will listen to that tune again, because I think on second hearing you think, wow, this is catchy. I remember it from the first time. I'm loving that tune. Well done, elderly white man. And Your Face in the Sun is now available on YouTube. I will put that the link to it into the chat. What's going on in the world of migration? I've heard that IMA are threatening to go on strike from around now until Christmas.
This is a perfect example of the BS and why you should tune out to a lot of it. So they are threatening to go on strike. You're saying they're going on strike, but you do realize that means that what that actually translates to is in regards to their overtime hours.
Okay, they're withdrawing.
They're not going on strike. So if you have your AIMA appointment, they're working. They're just saying we're not going to work overtime
or for free.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so like, that makes total sense. And even when I was in my Portuguese class, there was a strike out front. It was at the high schools where it was held, and I show up to school, and there's my teacher in line out front. And I'm like, is there not class today? And she's like, no, there's class. And she just follows me on into class. So there's this line of striking teachers. And then she just leaves line and comes to class and teaches class. So these are not strikes like we are used to. This is like normal protesting that they do all the time because they have valid reasons, absolutely, yes. And low pay and whatever, all those things. But it's not like I'm just not going to work for 3 months, from now to the end of the year. No. Okay. And of course, sensational videos, sensational articles, everything will pick up on that, like Amazon strike. And, so we have clients that are going to AMA in a few days, and, everybody's sort of freaking out. And it's like, calm down. This is about overtime. It doesn't affect you. You'll be fine. And, that's the reality. It's just like I had a client email yesterday going, oh, I don't know. I heard on Good Morning America that, Portugal's a new hotspot, and I don't know if I should come because it's too popular already. There's too many people. Now we know, there's about 10,000 Americans here. There's about 10,000 Canadians. I don't know how many Brits. Do you know how many Brits there are here?
3 million.
3, exactly. 10 million whole country, you know.
That's
But
right,
we
yeah.
know even with other immigrants from other countries, it's about 10% of the population. So it's about 1 million people.
Yes.
And you know, Phoenix is 5 million people. So, you know, it's yes, there's expats here for sure. Immigrants, whichever you want to call us, however, whichever
Foreigners,
way we
extranjeros,
fall.
yes. Yes.
But it's not out of control. It's not ridiculous, and most of those really come from Brazil and other countries. They're not, you know, they're not Americans, contrary to popular
Yes,
belief.
that's right. And it's a problem, isn't it? Because as you were talking about, you know, the latest shocking YouTube video of Ima being on strike, I'm imagining him. If I were to make and I do from time to time make a clickbait slide.
You totally do. But
I
I
love,
get it because
yeah,
that's how you get people to watch. So
yes,
I won't
but I
blame,
don't do
I
it very
won't
often.
fault you.
I just try and be factual, and then I just blur into the background
Well,
of YouTube, which is fine.
that's how it is. The first few
Yeah.
seconds are sensational, your headline, but that's how you get people to listen. So I
It
get it.
is, and it's unfortunate because all that does actually is upset people and make that influencer more wealthy from their YouTube income. It's not big or clever. I'm not a fan of it, but I do love the mischief of imagining what that clickbait slide could look like. And I'm thinking of a big wrecking ball going into a VFS building with a guy with a red face, a smoke coming out of his ears. You know, I'm on strike. And then, as you say, when you dig down into it, when you debunk it, it is they're working to rule. It's not what a strike as you would know it possibly in America or in UK. It is a work to rule, isn't it? And we should take this opportunity to applaud IMA, who are working against the odds in very difficult conditions. What they want is more staff and funding and more support from the government, and that's what we can get behind.
I actually think they're doing better. Our clients, so we do visas and help people through all that moving process. And I see them as actually improving at this point.
Great. Well, that's what we need to shout from the rooftop.
Yeah, and our clients had like just got visas, you know, day before yesterday. They had appointments in their visa already set for IMA in October, which is not bad. These people just got approved, aren't even here yet. It's
Great.
August, and their IMA appointments are in October. That's great. So,
and this is why you should work with Boots on the Ground Portugal, PT, or Boots on the Ground PT.com is where you can go to get help from Heather of that caliber and quality.
Yeah, and we offer a free chat. So if anyone out there wants to chat about their plans or what they're thinking, or discuss advice and stuff, because of course you're hearing constant misinformation, just like, you know, the strike and all this kind of stuff, and how many millions of people are here from other places, etc. So
Do you know what I'll do then, Heather? I think I'll make a clip of you saying how good it's going, especially when people work with you.
Well, I'm not saying that I have I'm a magic, okay?
No, I am.
But I do feel like it's really important if you have a really well put together visa package that is tried and true and very concise and to the point. You definitely get your approvals faster, cleaner, and you don't have that stress because, you know, you're investing. I don't know. I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to be here, and yeah, it wasn't worth the additional stress of not being sure that my package was going to be acceptable and the guidelines were good. You know, and my background as a real estate broker, loan processor, this is the stuff I did. So it just makes sense. Sense.
Very good. Who doesn't like a well put together package first thing in the morning? I know that Ima do, as Heather has pointed out right there. We've got 1 minute to go, and I was going to ask you for your final words. I think those are they. You make a very good point about getting your ducks in a row and doing it properly when addressing and dealing with IMA. We've got the old guy in Portugal. Sorry, the old guy in Europe. He's in Portugal, but he's the old guy in Europe, of course. Portuguese strikes, at least of government jobs, need to be scheduled and coordinated to assure nothing closes. Except teachers on strike can schedule a strike day once a week. It becomes essentially unpaid days off. Very ineffective strike strategy, in my humble opinion. Were you a shop steward back in the day? The strikes are ineffective. They rarely get resolved. It seems to be sort of a cultural thing, isn't it? And people are quite accepting of that in the way that we've described. Yeah, and Roy goes into this based on our earlier conversation, I think, Heather. We Portuguese have been around for a while. We even had the exorbitant privilege of reserve currency at some point. So, of course, we live for today. It's instinct. Thank you, Roy, for being here this morning. And Antonio F. adding that there are 45,000 British living in Portugal legally. Yeah, the other 2.9 million haven't registered yet, maybe. I don't know. To Good Morning Portugal's there. And as Tig says, yes, get that sorted out if you haven't done so already. Heather, thank you very much. I think I'm going to say goodbye to you this morning, and I'm going to listen to the tune. Stick around behind the scenes if you want to hear Elderly White Man again, talking about how time's running out, but in a really brilliant way, with an excellent backing track. And I hope to have them on the show in the autumn. So I love to Kevin. Well done at the Óbidos Festival, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Ciao, ciao. Bye for now. Ciao. Okay, there she goes. Let's bring that tune back onto the screen, and we'll listen to Elderly White Man shimmying with his Zimmer frame into winter. Here we go.
Fall, days getting shorter. Shadows grow tall. We wait for the moment. We wait for a sign. And while we are waiting, we run out of time. We run out of time. Winter is coming with its bitter chill. Time keeps on moving while we're standing still. We wait for the moment. We wait for a sign. And while we are waiting, run out of time, we run out of time. Wherever you go, wherever you run, I'll always remember your face in the sun, your face in the sun.